Jack was a poor boy, born into a humble and struggling family. They lived in a small, broken-down house, nestled in a neighborhood where everyone seemed to be just getting by. The house, though small, was filled with love. It was old, with cracked walls and a roof that leaked every time it rained. Jack's family didn't have much in terms of money or material things. In fact, they owned very little: old clothes, basic furniture, and barely enough to eat. But they had each other, and that was what mattered most to them. Jack's family consisted of his father, mother, brother, and sister. Despite their poverty, they shared everything they had and remained a close-knit, happy family. However, one day, Jack's life changed forever. His father fell seriously ill, and the situation quickly became dire. His mother was beside herself, trying to care for him, but they had no money to pay for a doctor. Jack's father had always been the provider for the family, but now he was too sick to work. Day after day, Jack and his mother tried everything they could to make him feel better, but his father's condition worsened. Jack watched helplessly as the man he loved more than anything struggled to breathe, his body weakening. He didn't understand why their father was so sick, and he hated how powerless they were to stop it. Finally, after several weeks of suffering, Jack's father passed away. The family was crushed by grief. Jack's mother cried for days, unable to comprehend the loss of her partner. Jack felt as though his world had shattered. He had lost his father, his rock, his brother and sister. Two were devastated. The once lively home was now filled with sorrow and mourning. In the midst of all the sadness, Jack made a promise to his mother. With a voice trembling with emotion, he said, "I will take care of you, Mom. I will take care of our family. I'll work hard, and I'll make sure we're never hungry again. I won't let you suffer." His mother, though devastated, pulled him into a tight embrace. "I believe in you, Jack," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "You have a kind heart, and you're stronger than you think. Never give up, my son. Study hard. Work hard, and one day you'll make all of us proud." Jack nodded, determined to make his mother's words come true. But the very next year, the unthinkable happened. Jack's brother, who had always been his closest companion, suddenly fell ill as well. Jack's mother was beside herself. She had no money to take him to a doctor, and without medical help, his condition deteriorated rapidly. Jack did his best to care for his brother, just as his father had taught him. But it wasn't enough. His brother passed away too, leaving Jack heartbroken. He had now lost both his father and his brother, two of the most important people in his life. The grief overwhelmed him. Jack felt utterly alone, unable to cope with the crushing weight of loss. His family situation became even worse. His mother, now a widow with 2 children gone, worked endlessly to provide for Jack and his sister. She cleaned houses, did laundry for other families, and took on any job she could find, but it was never enough. There were days when they had no food at all, and Jack would go to bed hungry, his stomach aching in protest. Despite all the hardships, Jack refused to give up. His mother had taught him to stay strong, and he promised himself that he would find a way to make their lives better. Jack started taking on small jobs wherever he could. He cleaned the streets, carried heavy bags for travelers, worked long hours in a factory, and did any manual labor he could find. The work was grueling, and his body ached from the constant strain, but Jack pushed through. His hands became calloused and raw from sweeping and carrying, and his back ached from bending over to lift heavy bags. Yet, through it all, Jack did not complain. Every day he reminded himself that he had to keep working for his mother and sister. They needed him. During this time, Jack began to develop a deep love for learning. He found solace in books, and he studied anything he could get his hands on. His favorite subject was English. Even though there was no formal schooling for him, Jack decided to teach himself. He borrowed old, worn-out books from the local library, and every spare moment he had, He practiced reading and writing in English. He learned new words every day and even practiced speaking, often reciting words aloud in front of a mirror. His love for learning grew stronger, and he began to realize that education could be his ticket to a better life, not just for him, but for his entire family. At the same time, Jack began to notice Ava. Ava had grown up in the same small neighborhood, but her family was quite different from his. Ava's parents were wealthy, and they had everything they could ever want. Ava was kind and smart, and Jack had always admired her from a distance. They had spent a lot of time together as children, but now their worlds had become very different. Jack loved her deeply, but he knew that Ava's family would never accept him. One day, Ava's parents sat him down and told him, "You are poor, Jack. You have nothing to offer Ava. She needs to marry someone who can provide for her, someone with money, someone who can give her the life she deserves." Jack was crushed. He loved Ava with all his heart, but he knew that he couldn't change his circumstances. He had nothing to offer her but his love, and that wasn't enough in her parents' eyes. Ava, too, cried, and Jack could see the pain in her eyes. She loved him too, but she had no choice but to obey her parents. Jack watched as his first love slipped away, and he couldn't help but feel more alone than ever. He cried many nights, lying in bed, feeling hopeless and defeated. But despite the pain of losing Ava, Jack didn't give up. He knew he had a promise to keep to his mother and sister. He couldn't let them down. So he worked even harder. He worked day and night, doing everything he could to earn money. He knew that one day, if he kept going, his life would change. He just had to hold on. Then, one day, Jack's life changed in a way he had never imagined. A wealthy man named Mr. William, the owner of a large factory, came to the factory where Jack worked. Mr. William heard Jack speaking English to a customer, and he was immediately impressed. "Who taught you English?" he asked, surprised by Jack's fluency. "I taught myself," Jack replied, his voice filled with quiet pride. Mr. William was astounded. "You taught yourself," he said. "You have a lot of potential, Jack. I can see it. How would you like to work for me in my office? I can offer you a better job, a chance to learn and grow." Jack's heart leaped in his chest. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for. He accepted the job and began working as Mr. Williams' assistant. He learned everything he could, working hard and always giving his best. He became more than just an assistant. He became Mr. Williams' most trusted employee. Jack was diligent, loyal, and intelligent. His boss noticed these qualities and began to trust him more and more. As the years passed, Jack's hard work paid off. He continued to learn and grow in his new role, and Mr. William, recognizing his abilities, promoted him again and again. One day, Mr. William took Jack aside and said, "Jack, I've watched you work for many years now. You're ready for something bigger. I want you to be the CEO of my company." Jack couldn't believe it. He had gone from a poor boy cleaning streets to running a successful company. His dream had come true. Jack thanked Mr. William and promised to work even harder in his new role. As CEO, Jack turned the company into one of the most successful in the region. He was able to create jobs, grow the business, and make a lot of money. Despite all his success, Jack never forgot his roots. He never forgot the hardships he had faced and the promise he made to his mother. He saved his money and bought a beautiful house for his family. One day, he took his mother and sister to their new home. "This is our new house," Jack said. his voice filled with pride and joy. His mother and sister cried with happiness, overwhelmed by the love and care Jack had shown them. "You've kept your promise, Jack," his mother said, tears streaming down her face. "You've made us so proud." But Jack didn't stop there. He knew there were still many people out there who were struggling like he had. He wanted to give back. So Jack used his wealth to help others. He built schools, created scholarship programs, and provided for poor families who needed help. He wanted to ensure that every child, no matter their background, had the chance to succeed, just like he had. Jack's story became an inspiration to countless people. He had overcome so many obstacles, and through hard work, determination, and a kind heart, he had achieved his dreams. He knew that his journey wasn't just about him. It was about helping others achieve their dreams too. Jack's life was proof that anything is possible, no matter how difficult life may seem.